we won't be delaying. I've got 5:31, so we'll call the February 22nd special meeting of the Metro Waste Management District Board to order at officially 5:32. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for attending. And the first item of business that we'll go through is approval of minutes of the January 25th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? And then does anybody want to make any changes, additions, or deletions?
Move approval.
We have a motion for approval by Mary Rose. We have a second.
I wasn't there, but I can second.
Okay, that's fine. We have a motion and a second. So officially, does anybody have any changes, additions, or deletions to the minutes? Okay, hearing none. We'll do a voice vote to approve the meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the minutes for the January 25th meeting are approved. Thank you. Pete, budget report.
Budget report for this year is looking really good. It seems as though we've had a substantial increase in license fees over the past 6 months to three quarters of a year. I think some of that is increases in tipping prices that has resulted in some of that. I'm not seeing necessarily a larger increase in volume, so that's what I would attribute that to. Currently, right now, as we are just over halfway, we've already got 97% of our expected license fees and citations, which is good. We're also running a little above where we would be expected in recycling receipts. I do know that some of the commodity prices have dropped back out again, which is unfortunate. We were doing so well. We'll see what the future holds there. So total revenue is right now is $1.392 million, which is 96% of our expected. Something odd about the, okay, all right, never mind. And personnel in our expenditures, we are running pretty much maybe a little bit over in our expected expenditures for personnel services. Contractual services, we're a little under, which not real sure what that is. Equipment and capital outlay, that is for a large purchase that we made, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So basically at this particular time, our expenses versus our revenue, we are currently running with a surplus of $549,806 in this fiscal year. That's good. Any questions on the overall financials? Okay, the second part of this is Workday, which is our new system for tracking expenses and stuff, is getting a little bit better, and I was able to tease out some information on our expenses. I can run through these, and I did take this all the way back to October 1st. So it might not be all of them for the year that are over $5,000, but Huntington National Bank, that's the front load truck that was purchased by the Waste District in an agreement to do the pop-up drop-off events. That $5,022 payment is a monthly payment. The S. Walker Incorporated, which was the Hikes Lane recycling surface improvements to add some concrete there so that we can put the front load dumpsters in. Field Trip, which is a marketing firm, is what we have been working on, which was previously approved by the Waste Management District. This is the expenses for the Waste District, not the expenses for the litter abatement grant, which has been complete. All those expenses prior to the into the calendar year. So you don't see those expenses for litter on this report. Again, the Huntington National for the front load truck. Then we started to catch up a little bit on our Veolia environmental, our has-been expenses. So you can kind of see that we had 3 of them in very short order. That is the system catching up to expenses that had not been paid. Again, the front load truck twice, and again, field trip. And then the last one, which was the expense I was just talking about, was with Bachman Auto Group. And that was for the EUV Chevy Bolt, which we have now in our possession. And I love it. It's doing extremely well. We've had it for about maybe a month. I put it on the charger once. So it's getting about 300 miles on a charge, which is better than expected, but I'm a pretty good driver when it comes to being economical with the electricity. So I think it's a great vehicle. Thank you guys for suggesting we go with an EUV, and it's been great.
Pete,
Any
can I ask,
question?
did we get a charger set up for it at Meriwether?
Yes. And charger was actually pretty cheap. It was $600. We did not have to pay anything for the running the electric. That was done by Metro. And I do know that hopefully if we do get the grant that we're talking about, we'll have several more charging stations for across the street, and hopefully a continued move towards electric, which would be great. So any questions on any of the other expenses, or any of these expenses, or any other expense? I did put 2 expense reports in your packet that were a little bit more detailed than what you saw here.
Any other
Yes.
questions? Okay, thank you, Pete. Next item on the agenda is correspondence.
Well, we just wanted to follow up. We asked the board at the last meeting if they would give us some support letters to Metro government for 2 U.S. EPA grants. One was a REO, which is based upon education. The other one was a Swiffer grant, which is an infrastructure grant. I think Karen went over these grants at the last meeting with you guys. These were the final wording in those letters. We just wanted to, number one, make sure that you guys saw the final draft, but also number 2, that we wanted to tell you thank you so much for doing these. The grants have been submitted, and it is our hope. We feel like that we've got a decent shot. It's hard to tell with how many people would be applying for the grant, but we had some money come to us through Metro government for grant writers, and they did a fantastic job. Karen and I worked with them mostly an hour every day to get this done, and countless hours trying to get stuff for that. So it all worked out. We got them submitted just a few hours before the day were due. So not a minute to spare. So cross your fingers. These 2 grants would be really transformational for our education and for our campus here in the act of self-haul and recovery. So hopefully we can get them. Does anybody have any questions on those or on the grants?
All right, thanks, Pete. Hearing none, we'll move on to action items.
The next item on the agenda is an action item, and this is for a long worked on additional recycling center to replace the Urton Lane Firehouse Recycling Center, which was the busiest unstaffed center in Metro. We have searched long and far for a location. This location seems to be the only one that we're going to find in that area, unfortunately. So that means that we are kind of paying a little bit of a premium for the site. But it's a good site. And I think that it actually gives good access to the people that were using the site the most. So I think it's a good site. So in your packet, you would have received your lease, the lease document itself. You would have received the two attachments. Both of those talk about access and the actual building. So that would be two exhibits. You will see that the lease per month is $1,175, which is down from $2,000 per month, which is better. Still not great. The amortization schedule has changed somewhat to be more, I think, beneficial for us, and that means that if for some reason something goes wrong, we're going to recover a lot of the funds that we're using to improve the site. We did get the access rights in there. My apologies at the last meeting that I was not there. I had sent the wrong lease agreement that did not have the updates in it. So my apologies. It was kind of a hairy time at that particular moment. So what I'm asking for you tonight is if you had a chance to review the lease agreement, if you have any questions, if not, if it's agreeable to the board, could we get an approval to move forward with this lease? And at that point, I can go to the Metro Council people. I think there's 4 individuals that have also agreed to put up funds for the construction of the site. So there's the $20,000 for each party, the district, Metro Council, 4 districts, and then the lease fee, which the Waste District has agreed to take on. So any questions or any concerns before I ask for you guys to vote?
This is,
And
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I mean, the amortization schedule, that's really not that's really saying if anything goes wrong, if we don't renew, or they choose not to renew, or we choose not to renew, then we have to pay them so much.
No, actually, it's the other way around, but it's only if they decide not to renew, then we would be the ones losing our investment. And they would
Right.
pay us those fees or those funds to help us recover some of our cost.
So in 1 year, we would lose $25,000 if they
Yeah,
decide.
it actually would come to be actually 2 years, but the first year is actually where it's not really breakable. It would be in the second year.
Okay. I guess I'm assuming you guys have looked at that and have determined that that it's fair to us, those amounts.
It's obviously I would love to get all the money back, but it's what has been agreed upon is what I would say.
Yeah.
Fair is kind of up to you guys on whether or not you feel like it's fair. I think that it's unfortunate that this is the only site that we're having to pay a lease to, but it is the nature of what we're dealing with out there. The demand is extremely high. This is our only site, so they kind of got us over the barrel a little bit. We have to do this to a certain extent. But I do think in the end, this is a much better deal than what we started with. So,
And I guess in terms of what we would take in from this site and what we'd sell it for, I'm assuming that would recoup some of our expenses as well.
yeah, it is not our property. It is their property. We are doing the improvements on their property. And that's what the money we're trying to recoup.
Right.
If it has. So if in the second year it's not working out, or this company, loses out, they're going to owe us $75,000, which would recover. In all honesty, I don't think it's going to cost us the full $100,000 to prepare the site. I think it's going to be closer to 90. So we would basically have 15 months or more of use, and we're going to get 75,000 of that 90,000 back.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
what are our options in this lease if, and I can't imagine that this would happen, but for the period of time that we've been closed, what would happen if our participation does not come back? Let's say it's disastrously low and we decide we're not providing enough service to people out there to be worth the spending the money. What's the cost to us to get out?
First, I don't anticipate that. The demand is extremely high, and we know that through the next closest site being Whips Mill, that we have had to add a large number of dumpsters there because people are coming from that area still. I don't feel like that we're going. The site, Burton Lane, was over busy to begin with. If we lose 20% of the people that was using the Burton Lane site, this site would still be fully utilized. So we would be, Bob, I just don't see that happening.
Okay, that was just a worst case scenario question.
Yeah, I understand.
Are there any other questions?
Well, I have a
Yeah,
comment.
go ahead.
I'm the one who had so many questions in the beginning, and even though I'm still not really happy with the price, I really appreciate the staff's working to get it down to what they did. And I appreciate adding the access part to the lease. And even though it's not what I would consider a perfect lease, I would like to motion that we approve the lease.
Okay, thank you, Mary Rose. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any additional questions, comments?
Well, I would just say I think it's extremely important that we serve these people in this area. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not where I live, but I have services available to me, and I think it's very important that we serve the people in this area. So I think it's just that we should do it for sure.
Well, considering the amount of customers that we had there all along, I mean, it would kind of be poor performance on our part to just abandon that area.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a little bit of hesitancy on voting on this tonight because of so many of the board members not being here. We're missing 3, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Were those board members at the meeting last month?
Yes.
I would typically,
Yeah.
I would typically agree with that. I think that we have talked about this, and for the most part, I think that there's been unanimous support in making this. It was just getting the terms correct. So I would ask the board to consider that in if they decide to table this for tonight. And time is, while we have waited, part of that has been knowing that it's just so cold outside that we cannot do some of the work when it's so cold. But I'm hoping that we can move forward with it tonight. But I certainly understand the want for everyone to be here.
Well, go ahead.
Excuse
Go
me,
ahead.
Bob. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting. But you just said, Pete, that there didn't seem to be any opposition from the other board members that aren't available here. I know you don't want to speak upon their behalf, but unfortunately, I didn't hear the last conversations, the last meeting that we had. If you would just expand on that, or if one of the other board members would want to expand on that particular situation.
Well, as
I can't.
go ahead.
I can't. Obviously, I was out for the last board meeting.
That's right, you were too.
As I recall,
I was at the meeting, and Karen explained it in great detail, and I was the only one who had any questions. So, which have now been taken care of. So,
Yeah, that's what
I mean,
was
I
gonna
can't say
I-
that they were just silently sitting there thinking this is a horrible idea, and I'm just not going to say anything. But silence usually means consent. So,
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that, Mary Rose had brought up quite a number of items from the last meeting, and I read over those, and I read the lease. Yeah, it seems like it is a little high, but I don't know what the market rate is for these kind of properties. And it has been brought down, and it does seem we do need to have something there to service that area. So I guess from my perspective, it seems like it's something we should move forward with.
Yeah, I would agree with Mary Rose. Nobody expressed reservations outside of Mary Rose at the last meeting.
And she made the motion, so I understand. Thank you.
I would say we'll just go ahead and take a vote. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. And we'll address it at the next meeting. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other comments or questions the board members would like to put forward? Since this is a budget item, Pete, would you call the roll?
Mary Rose Evans,
yes.
Deborah Thompson, Robert Lee,
Yes.
Robert Schindler.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you all very much on that. This kind of a related question, Pete. This center, how many dumpsters will this center require?
There'll be 10 8-yarders there, so it'll have 80 yards of capacity, and we will have to empty it at least once a day, if not more often.
Yeah, the reason I was asking the question is I went by Hikes Lane yesterday, and every single dumpster was stuffed to the brim and sticking out the openings of the dumpsters.
Yes, unfortunately, the front load truck that we have suddenly all the lights came on and it shut down. So we've had to activate our emergency backup contract, which kind of has a little bit of a delay. And if you was there on Monday, the Sunday in the emergency contract is not necessarily covered. So we've had to put 30-yard roll-offs out there to cover until we can get our front load back, or until the emergency contract can pick up probably on Monday night. So it is, Hikes Lane is probably the second busiest site in the city, and it's very difficult to keep up with them. And I will say this, that since we've had our front loader, our ability to empty these on a timely fashion and prevent overflows has been greatly enhanced. Whereas when we had the 30-yard roll-offs, sometimes like at Burton Lane, we had 4. We were emptying them every day. So the front loader has made it much more efficient for us to provide this service. And it's greatly appreciated. But on another note, using these front load dumpsters has actually reduced illegal dumping into those dumpsters probably by 80%. It's been dramatic. So the bad part about it is we have one front loader, and we need a second as a backup because of potential breakdowns or having to get things serviced. It takes time. So I'm sorry that you saw that backup. We're certainly working to try to prevent them.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to delay this too long. You want to move on to the next item?
Sure. Well, as every year in the past, probably 5 years, we're working to complete our annual report. As part of that annual report, all of the licensed waste haulers, recyclers, landfills, compost facilities all report to us on their on their calendar year 22 activities, weights, where material went. We also have a lot of material to get together from education and all of the reports. It basically updates the 5-year plan that we completed. It's a huge task. The state gives us very little time to make that, to get it complete. And Jefferson County being the size that it is, it makes it very difficult for us to get it complete within the time frame. So it's due March 1st. We're not going to make it. We still have people that, as of Friday, will be issuing notices of violation for people that have not reported as required. So it's hard to complete an annual report to the state if you don't have everybody getting their reports in. So this is something that we've done every year. And what I would ask is that the board would consider approving this letter to send to the state to ask for another extension for this year until April 1st. And that will give us time to complete the report.
So you need just a motion and approval from the board.
Yes, I believe so.
I would, Mr. Chairman, I would ask the question, why not ask for a 60-day extension to May 1st, making sure that you don't have to rush through the situation and do the job correctly. You're asking for it, you might as well ask for more.
I hear you, Bob. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad idea. I just don't want to take advantage of their of them extending it. I think that in the past, I think if we could go back to them and ask for another extension if we need be. But if you guys feel like that's something that we would want to do, I'm certainly not opposed to that.
I would make the recommendation that we do, but it would be up to the chairman.
Pete, based on your experience with them in the past, have we had to go beyond the 30-day request in the past?
I do not think so, with maybe the exception of the COVID year.
And then
which was extraordinary circumstances.
Follow up to that, what if you had to assign a percentage of achieving your within 30 days achieving your gathering of the necessary data? Is it 50-50?
I would say that I'm 99% sure that we'll have it done throughout this next month.
What's the feeling of the rest of the board members?
It was just a suggestion.
I mean, if you wanted to extend it to May 1, you could send it in April 1, right? There wouldn't be anything stopping you if you got it earlier.
Yeah, we can send another one in. Yeah, that's not a problem.
I mean,
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, you could go on and submit it without earlier than May 1 if you got it ready. If you wanted to go
True.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
it doesn't really.
I would just say my kind of gut feeling is Pete's the one who works with these guys and he knows what makes it the easiest to work with them, and we should go with that. But that's just one perspective on it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that if Pete's that certain that he can get it done within the 30-day period.
I agree.
Can we have a motion to approve this request or approve Pete submitting this request?
I can make a motion that Pete submit the request. Are we saying by April 1?
We'll send the letter right away.
So is your motion to do the letter as Pete requests for a 30-day extension?
Yes.
Yes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion, comments? Okay, Pete, I guess call a roll on this since this is kind of, this is an official action between us and the state.
Mary Rose Evans,
Yes.
Deborah Thompson, Robert Lee,
Yes.
Bob Schiller. Unanimously.
Okay, we got that done. I think did not keep Bob here too long on that one. So we're running right with regular business. So next item of business, old business, Pete.
Aaron, you want to take
Yeah.
this?
Sure. Last month I mentioned that we were going to be replacing our old outer loop fence banners, which were originally purchased through the council office, I believe it was. But they were tattered and torn and old. And so we just have a few pictures of the new ones. We updated the design a little bit. We purposely made them a bit shorter because we found that weed eaters would hit them at the edge and kind of did some damage. So we didn't want that to be a problem. So that's just a few pictures. And we have not moved forward with doing this at the other two staffed centers, but I think there's some good spots for banners there as well. So they can be consistent as far as the look and also just look a little nicer.
Just out of curiosity, what was the original or initial reason for putting up banners here? What was this site considered by anybody to be an eyesore, or?
I believe at the time, Bob, the trailer there looked a whole lot worse than it does now. And the underpinnings showed it was a little bit unsightly, and at least in the opinion of the council person at the time. So they willingly put up the money and asked us to do it. So hard to turn that down.
And
I don't
Greg
think
asked-
I was gonna say, I don't think it's overall a bad idea because it does make it much more visible as a recycling center.
Yeah, Greg asked how old were the banners, and I had that at the last meeting on the slide. I think it was either 2017 or 18. It was right when I was new and I came in 2017.
That's probably what are they, vinyl banners?
Yeah,
That-
I don't know the original. These are definitely vinyl.
That's probably a
pretty
pretty
nice.
good, that's probably a pretty good life cycle for something sitting out in the sun like that.
Yeah.
So what action do you need of us on this, Pete?
Nothing. I was going to tell you that this is one of the items in the 5 years plan that was put in. Basically, the issue was that we wanted to consider, we wanted Metro to consider amending an ordinance that allowed flexibility during emergency situations such as the recent pandemic. And this was the result of potentially not just pandemics where we're having a hard time keeping staff to pick up materials, but also for intermixing waste streams during disasters. And we had a huge amount of debris to collect that's intermixed, particularly being organics being mixed with normal like construction waste, which is not allowed to be set out co-mingled or collected co-mingled. So in other words, we was looking for is a little bit of flexibility to be able to make decisions because we were asked at our board meeting to suspend or if we could deviate from some of the ordinances. The concern was we didn't have the power to do that. So we had an opinion from the county attorney's office, and I think it's solid. which, exclusive power to do these things rests with the mayor. And he can do that through during an emergency by KRS 39A, 103A. So more or less, I think what has come from this and what we should recognize as completing this item in the 5-year solid waste management plan is it's more or less a policy that if we have concerns during an emergency, that the board can make a request to the mayor's office with details of what we feel like needs to take place. And the mayor's office can consider our request, which I hope would carry some weight since we're the solid waste management district. And hopefully the mayor could create an executive order to suspend the certain sections of the ordinance as needed for us to continue to provide services and protect the community from by getting the waste up in a timely manner. So the reason I wanted to do this is because I think that this actually completes that part of the 5-year solid waste management plan that it's in the disposal chapter number 4. So I wanted to bring that to your attention and feel like that we have completed that task where we don't really need to complete that task, to be honest with you. We have other avenues that we've identified to complete what we need to do.
I'm sorry, but I'm a bit confused. Is this in the 5-year plan or it's not? And you're asking that as a board, we approve it? I'm not following you, Pete. Is this in the 5-year plan or not?
My apologies. The text there on the left that is in the plan, consider amending ordinance to allow flexibility during emergency situations such as the recent pandemic. That was what it was in the 5-year plan that this board approved. Working on looking to see if that was something that we could do or the best way to do it. I got with the county attorney's office who gave us the opinion on the right. There isn't any action that the board needs to take. It's more or less, it's a completion of a task that we set out as specific action in the 5-year plan. So there's no action, but I just wanted to let you guys know that we don't need to create that ordinance. We just need to have policy or procedures that tells us how we need to go about asking for an executive order to do what we need.
Thanks for the explanation. That was much better.
Thank you.
And just to summarize, I guess what would happen is if we had any kind of emergency where waste haulers were running into a problem because of a storm or whatever it may have been the situation, waste haulers could come to the board and say, this is the problem we have. And it's in contrast or contradiction of the ordinance. We need some relief. If the board agreed, the only thing we would have to do to secure the relief would be simply adopt a resolution of the board, send it to the mayor's office, asking him to suspend that ordinance or that portion of the ordinance for a specific period of time.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions of Pete? Thank you, Pete, and thank the county attorney's office. That makes it a whole lot simpler. Next item.
Yep, that's me again. So I wanted to just share some updates from our outreach campaign, which is done through our vendor field trip. And so a couple of these slides are some things that they shared with us. I'm not as good at sharing back, but I'll try. So these are, we have an anti-litter campaign. That's our first focus, and it will be active by the end of the month and the beginning of March. So the campaign targeting parameters that they shared with us are listed here. So of course, the Louisville Metro is our primary location, and then there will be some secondary focus on specific areas that have more opportunities for the need. And then the demographics are just kind of the general 18 to 65 audience, and then a slightly higher emphasis on under 40, since the statistics show they're more likely to litter. And another, this is like a marketing graphic, and so the media and what we're doing is really focusing on those first 4 layers of this graphic. I'm not even sure what you call this thing, but it's a funnel. So so the big thing is awareness. And then it leads to interest, which leads to consideration, intent, and then so on with evaluation, conversion, and then you've got your advocates. So it's kind of like the levels of your audience and how they're interacting, and how they're maybe getting involved and kind of doing a deeper dive. So so this campaign really focuses more on those first 4, and then. What is the next slide, Pete? And so I wanted to share some examples of what will be visible. So bus shelter posters will be up, and that's definitely hitting that awareness category. So some of them are going to be specific to a neighborhood, and these are 3 examples that they gave us. Then there will also be some social media that'll have a little bit more information coming at you. And that gets a little bit more into the consideration and intent category, but this is one of them. It's not hard to not litter. When it comes to litter, your actions add up. Last year, Louisville Crews picked up over 10,000 pounds of trash. This year, keep Louisville clean, find a trash can, pick up misplaced garbage, and remember it adds up. With another tagline of keep Louisville clean.
By the way, I would want to add that 10,000 pounds is a placeholder. It's actually much, much, much more than that we picked up. Sorry. Couldn't.
Thanks. And then there will also be outdoor digital boards, which cover or within that awareness category again. And this is, I think there's 3 examples of those. And they all have, and then here's another kind of social media that has a little bit more to read on it. So when you see it, pick it up, take the time to find a trash can or recycling bin, pick up misplaced trash, when and where you see it, and remember it adds up. Litter is a choice, don't. So bus shelters are gonna start February 27th. Other media starts March 1st. And kind of the timeline that they shared with us is that they will monitor the campaign for 30 days and then compile some data from it and have a meeting about progress. They're monitoring it, any tweaks that need to be done, they'll do, but at the progress meeting, they'll just kind of give us an update on what's working. And then they'll continue the campaign for 60 more days. So this is kind of our first go around with with this process. So we'll keep you posted on everything, but I'm really excited to get this campaign out there, and hopefully we can see some impact.
Karen, can we go into a little bit about the landing page?
Yes, sorry, I meant to say that. If you notice, well, so when you're looking at a bus shelter poster or a billboard, there is a to learn more visit. And there's, a website. So some people might take the time to actually type that in and look it up. But the real push for those clicks is coming through digital display ads. And so when they do click, it goes to a landing page, And that page, you know what? I think I meant to have some of that up. That page, we kind of have, I don't have it. We have, it wasn't really, I know why I didn't do it, because they had to make an edit. The font looked funny. I was going to do some screenshots, but anyway, it's just a website it goes to, and you kind of scroll down, you see some, another fun statistic we used, was that we picked up, enough, I forget how it's read, enough litter to fill the seats of the Yum Center. So we did a, calculation of volume and kind of thinking about a bag of litter and how many seats are in the Yum Center. And there were enough bags picked up that it would a bag could be put in there. So just kind of like awareness of volume and try to relate that to something Louisville related. So so there's that. And then the last thing is a contact form. So it'll just be kind of for more information thing, and you can put in your name, and that's going to go to me and Rob Lush. So we're going to start that out. And if people are, that gets a little further into that funnel diagram. So when people are wanting to be more intentional and maybe share more or be more involved, they have that opportunity. So we're hoping to have some other updates as far as like when you do a litter cleanup, you can track that, fill out a quick little survey of what you picked up so that it can be tracked on a map. So we have some plans for that. It's not quite ready, but we're excited to be able to share more, get the word out. When we meet with them in 30 days, we'll find out what kinds of impressions we're getting on the social media ads and the digital ads that come through. There's an audio through like a music streaming service type ad. So we were able to kind of write the content for that, and they have a voice actor that reads it with a little music behind it. So I haven't heard the official, I heard the options. So anyway, so if you all start hearing any of that or seeing any of that, that'll be great. We'll just let us know, because we'd like to know how it's reaching everyone. But I'm just excited for something new like this to work on.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys for dedicating $25,000 of litter abatement funds for us to be able to do this. I'm excited about it, and I think that litter messaging, public litter messaging, has kind of been missing, and it's something that we really want to try to do. This is just the first step of that, and we want this to be a continuous thing for years to come, is that we be continuous messaging about anti-litter. So thank you guys again. Bob, I think you're muted.
I'm just curious, having that tag on the bottom of these signs, why we didn't use a QR code as opposed to somebody having to try to remember the website to type in.
Well, I can ask. A QR code would be useful in a bus shelter, that's for sure. Outdoor billboards, maybe not so much, but
Yeah.
yeah, we can throw that at them and see what they say.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thanks for keeping us up to date, Karen. Good progress so far.
Do you
Anything
want me-
else?
Sorry.
Go ahead. And I was going to say, anything else under that anti-litter campaign? Okay. Pete, next item.
Advisory committee report. I think Sandra and Karen, we're going to do this.
Essentially, there were two items on the agenda. This is the one she's showing you is the one that was the most time consuming, and we spent a lot of time talking about it. So I'm going to start with the other one. The other one related to whether or not we were going to continue with WebEx meetings or have in-person meetings. And we haven't decided the format yet, but we're going to go to hybrids. We feel that we've lost some level of communication with just doing WebEx. Getting into what Karen's showing to you, we've talked about how to implement the various things that are in the 5-year plan. And Karen and Pete and possibly Diane did a fantastic job of listing in great detail all of the different components. And essentially, as you can see on this, they relate to contracts and education. And so we're going to form 2 subcommittees, and people are placed on them already. And the 2 subcommittees will work on will work on the various elements of both of them. There are some people who probably will go and, like myself, and watch both of the subcommittees because the actions are not mutually exclusive. Karen, did you want to say some things?
I don't think I have anything else. We'll see how it goes with I think the last comment on the call about, starting the subcommittees, we'll be meeting more often, maybe trying to have some be in person and some be virtual, which would be, fine on our end. And then another, what was not discussed in the meeting, but was sent out later with this list was possibly having every other month advisory committees while the subcommittees met every month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Any other questions or comments?
If I could, as always, we encourage any of the board members to attend any of these subcommittee meetings as an educational part of this and to be kind of in contact with what we're doing. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes with these activities that we're trying to implement. So it's very difficult for us to have these great detailed conversations at the committee level and come to you guys and be able to explain it. So you can get a little bit ahead of everything if you can find some time to come to some of the subcommittee meetings and just see what we do.
All right. Staff report.
We wanted to update you guys on the large item by appointment system that's replacing the junk set out periods system that we previously had. We are probably most of the way through. We have A through L areas that we've always collected, and as we've worked through, we clean an area, turn it on for appointments. So we have K and L remaining to do. So you can see those are in here. This was actually mislabeled. That is part of L. It's L1. But we're almost all the way through. So we've started to gather some metrics. And as you guys know, we feel like that by switching to an appointment system where people can get rid of their waste as it's generated, instead of having to wait 3 months, will actually make for a cleaner community. And that's what our pilot showed us. So we are partial the way through. The data lags. So the further that you get to the right, and I didn't even go past F, the further that you get over here, the less data that we have to firm up what we believe, what we see. So in area A, which was in here, south end, was the first area to go. And what you can see is this reports from citizens, reports of illegal dumping or reports of solid waste violations. And what is great so far is that Reports of illegal dumping in Area A has dropped by 71%. Incredible. Reports of solid waste violations has dropped 16%. Area B, which is here, it's actually dropped 52% and 41%. Area C, which is right around Churchill Downs and is probably one of the densest areas of the city as far as households go, we've actually seen an increase. And we're not sure why exactly, but what we do know is we need to up our education and outreach in that area, which we have begun to do. Nicole George, the deputy mayor, has asked us to up our education and outreach, which we are working to do. D, we've seen a smaller decrease that is down here. And again, the further over you go on this chart, the less reliable this data is going to be. We're actually up here in F, which we saw a significant decrease in illegal dumping, which is great. So we're encouraged that we're heading in the right direction. Overall, all across the city, illegal dumping reports are down 25%, and solid waste violation reports is down 5%. I'm not sure if anybody believed that this was actually possible, but I am hoping that it continues and that we've really made a foundational change in the community here. Number of appointments, we had to turn the system on for everyone, but if you were in an area that wasn't turned on yet, it basically returned a, hey, you're not there yet. This is your last big junk set out period. You'll be turned on afterwards. So that's why in this chart here, as of 2/3, 52% of the people that made appointments were not in areas turned on, which is, that number will continue to go down. So 48% of them were good appointments. We had 6% of the people that actually used the system to cancel, which was great. That helps us tremendously. But we've had 27% of the people or locations where we found nothing. And we're all real sure about what that is and why. Two things that we think. One is they didn't have time to set it out, which we don't want them to set it out real early, so we're not giving them that notice until 2 days before. Or it's being picked up by scavengers or people seeing it out there, and they pick it up before we even get there. I think there's a sizable percentage of it is going there. We are going to have a after appointment email survey that's going to go out, and hopefully we're going to get some findings that kind of answers those questions. But 60 of the, and 68 is not the real number, but of the good appointments, basically only 3% of them have we found where they've done it wrong, which is another astounding number considering that this is a new program. And man, as soon as our crews get out there, they see that somebody's done it wrong, our education and enforcement are all over it. And we're working to do that. I think if we give an inch here, it will only slip away from us and we'll be back into a system that's broken. So all in all, I just wanted to let you guys know that we're very encouraged by the system at this point. We still have a ways to go. We have, I think, probably a year to a year and a half before this really, this change is really truly into the community to where people know what to do. But I think we might have something transformational here for the community and keeping it much cleaner. So I just wanted to update you guys on those statistics and where we're at in that process. Willing to take any questions that you guys may have.
Once again, Pete, what did you mean by good appointments?
Good appointments mean, and I probably not the best of words. I cut and pasted this real quick. It's areas not turned on or good appointments. That was the choice. People actually made the appointment in an area
Successful
that is already
appointment.
turned on. Is that,
A
Terry?
lot of people have heard about the program because we started it in November and they try to make an appointment, but they're not eligible yet because we're turning it on as we go through and have their last set out weekend. So those two numbers add up to 100% because 52% are just excited and trying to use the program when they're not quite ready. And 48% are using it when they're actually eligible.
Okay, yeah, that explains it.
thank you, Karen.
So the number where it was not found is way lower. Okay, I was interpreting that the wrong way.
Yeah, not a great graphic there. I can do better once we get all the areas turned on. One thing that I would also like to add is we've had probably well over 2,000 appointments made so far since November 1st. Obviously, some of those are people that aren't turned on, but the collection part of this and the system itself is actually working much better than what we had even anticipated. So we're able to handle the volume just fine so far. And we anticipate with warmer weather that the number of appointments are going to continue to increase and we'll be ready to go. We feel like we're in a good spot.
Any other questions? Okay. Pop-up
Oh,
event.
I forgot to add this slide. This is just a map showing where all of our appointments are coming from. It's not fully built out yet, but I just got it today and was a little excited and wanted to throw it out there. The hottest spot is actually going to be just south of us in this area. It shows us where most people are making appointments. We're going to pair this up with where illegal dumping reports are coming from. And we're assuming that where we have low numbers of appointments is going to be areas that we have high numbers of reports of illegal dumping. So we're working on creating additional dashboards, data that can allow us to visualize where we need to really focus our education much better. This is a great map, and it does kind of show you where some of our gaps are so that we can continue to work. Of course, the further east you go, the less appointments because they're the last ones to truly be into the system.
I can share about the next slide here. This is our pop-up drop-off schedule, which, hopefully there won't be any last minute changes, but this is pretty much official. We're starting very soon. March 18th is our first one at Metro Fleet Services parking lot. So, and then we'll carry on. So we have one per month through November. We, just like the previous years, are moving around the county, continuing to use all similar locations as we used last year. We're doubling up on U of L's Shelby campus because Eastern High School has gone bad 2 times in a row and we don't want to risk it again. So we asked all the council people their opinion and they all agreed to just have 2 at Shelby campus, which typically works really well. We're going for Shawnee Park again. This time that one will be in October. We need to keep that away from the Dirt Bowl weekends. That doesn't coincide well. So October seems better for that. And Fern Creek High School last year at the end couldn't host, so we had to switch it real quick to Fern Creek Park, which worked okay. But the high school has approved the use of the grounds application that we submitted with the elementary school as well. So hopefully it'll work even better than it did. Of course, that one was in November and it was like a really, really cold day. So it wasn't that crowded anyway. Maybe more crowded this year being in the spring. So we're excited about that. All the dates are on the Recycle Coach calendar. So even if you don't have city waste collection services, it's a useful thing to have on your phone. You know, you can see those on the calendar. You can get notified of them. And we put this out on social media and through our Works Week newsletter, continually sharing, and all the council people that are involved, which thank you to them because they always provide the shredding truck. So, so they help us get the word out as well when it's in their areas. Do you guys have any questions?
I continue to ask this question because I think it's significant, but we are continuing to get more participation through this program than we did through the drop it off at the 3-day at the landfill, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yes. And of course, much more diversion because we're not just at the landfill. I think last year, the first full year, we had about 5,000 vehicles come through to all the events. And then all of 2022, we had about 4,000 vehicles. So it's still a lot, but it did go down, which I don't see really as a problem because you know, hopefully people are kind of acclimating to how to get rid of their waste as it's generated, you know, rather than holding on to a lot of stuff. But we'll see how it goes this year with participation.
Well, it's certainly much more convenient to people than one central location, and so I think that's a big boon because it's giving better service to the entire metro area.
I believe the agreement that we made, that the district made with Metro government was a good one in the front load truck versus the pop-up drop-off events. Might ask you guys for another front load truck soon, but if this one continues to go down. But I think that this has been a win-win for both Metro government and the Waste District, and certainly for the citizens of the community. I think it's been a great deal.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Karen, for managing this. I think this is a really good thing.
You're welcome.
Announcements.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
did
ma'am.
we skip the item about board terms for a reason?
Oh,
Oh,
my bad, Pete.
okay. I'm not, did I have it even in my slide deck? I don't think I did.
It's
Okay,
it's on my agenda. It says new business board of director terms.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Okay, so we are right now working to get some terms filled, but we have a new administration, and we want to be able to get people to fill some roles. So right now we have some expired terms, and we have some upcoming expired terms, which would include almost the entirety of the board. We've asked the Jefferson County League of Cities to give us a new name, although we'll sorely miss Mary Rose Evans. But the three consecutive terms is up for many people, and we must turn over. That does not mean that they can't miss a term and then come back and serve again. We would hope that people would consider doing that. Bob, for the National Waste and Recycling Association, same situation, has served 3 consecutive terms. And we've asked that they appoint somebody else. So Bob is also at his 3 terms. I believe that Deborah is at her 3 terms, and Susan Hart is at her 3 terms. So we have a big turnover coming. we're working with Althea Jackson at the mayor's office. Hopefully we can get those positions filled as soon as possible. I know some of the positions that we're looking for is going to include a person from out in the unincorporated area. The biggest unincorporated area is out in the southwest part of the county. I think that we need to get representation from there. C district also, which is Deborah's. We just really have a hard time finding people to want to serve. So if you guys, while you're out and you're networking, telling people about the Waste District Board, if you find individuals that are interested, please have them go and make application to serve on a board or commission through the Louisville Metro website, or contact Mayor Greenberg's office to be put on that list, because we could definitely use some people that are interested and want to serve. So that's my spiel. I know that there was questions about an ordinance that was let over, I think it was right before Christmas. And the confusion there, and I wanted to say this, the fact that you guys was not aware of that is my fault. And what the purpose of that was to simply bring Metro ordinance in alignment with KRS that requires this board be made up in a certain manner. That the ordinance was, it had not gotten changed since 2017 when the state legislature changed the makeup of this board. So that's really what it was intended to do. It also talked, we maybe not real clear, but it does allow for a person to serve again after they've served 3 consecutive terms. At least that is our interpretation of that. There's still a little bit of confusion about the 4 members to make a quorum and then 4 votes to pass a measure. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think that, such as tonight, I think Mr. Lee brought up the fact that not everybody was here, and we do want to bring consensus. So I don't know that it really hurts us, but that's certainly something to discuss. And I think the last thing, and correct me if I'm wrong on the items that I'm trying to remember here, is that the ordinance did change, that the chair is selected by a vote of the members of the board. And I think that has been a trend on with the Metro Council that occurs. So I honestly, at the time, I didn't really have either way. If the mayor wants to appoint that position, we can go back and, there's always ways to change the ordinance. We just need to have that discussion with Metro, and we can do that if that's what you guys want to do. But those are the items that I think was of concern from the last meeting. Again, my apologies for you guys not being aware of it. I thought it was more or less a bookkeeping type of a change. Otherwise, I certainly would have brought it to your attention, and I will certainly do so in the future, regardless of whether or not it's a minor or just to bring us into something. I think that you guys, it's a good point. I need to make sure that you guys are aware of that.
All right, thank you, Pete. Our next board meeting is March 22nd, correct? And
Yes, sir.
Next advisory committee meeting is, you're going to have to read that. My printer messed that up. March
15th.
15th. Are there any other questions or comments from board members or from the audience?
Bob, this is Jerry McGraw. If you're ready for something from the audience, I had a couple of questions.
Yes.
On the drop-off, the pop-up drop-offs, used to have the situation, as was mentioned, where you take stuff out to the landfill. Has consideration been given to doing something similar down at the Waste Management Production there on Meriwether, where once every 3 months or something, somebody could just, if they've got a load of the stuff, they could bring it down there and dispose of it instead of having to wait for the pop-ups or things that might be convenient to many of the residents to do that.
Well, Pete or Karen can speak to that, but if you're a resident of Metro Louisville or Jefferson County, you can go to the Waste Reduction Center anytime you choose, correct, Pete?
That's my understanding. Also, my thinking is that the drop-off where we used to have it out at the outer loop, it was without charge. And I think the last time I was at the Waste Reduction Center was $65 to take anything in, minimum. It may have gone up since then.
No, I don't think that it's actually went up. I could be mistaken though. You can bring 4 large household items that don't fit into your cart there, as many as you want, up to 4 per day for free. So that part of it's okay. You can drop off metal, you can drop off electronics, you can drop off waste up to 4 tires, you can drop off I'm probably missing a couple things, but all of that is free at the Waste Reduction Center. When you get into larger loads, then basically a pickup truck, yes, that is where there is a charge. It's an interesting thing that maybe that is something that we have a free day, so to speak, something that we can certainly bring to the Department of Public Works to see if they would be interested in that. I know that one of the US EPA grants that we're working on would go a long way towards replacing many of the functions at the WRC when it's related to self-hauled and recovery and expansion of reuse that we hope that the Waste Reduction Center can improve upon. And in taking into one of the items that Jerry, that you had mentioned in the 5-year plan buildup was a place to dispose of latex paint.
Yes.
We do have goals to incorporate that and even replace the has-been to bring it down here, because the has-been location is difficult to find. And we can bring it all under one roof, we hope. But anyway, I hope that answers the question. I know it might not be a free day. It might not be totally free at the WRC, but for the most part, for residents, a large item, 4 large items, is pretty much what most people need on the occasion.
I was unaware of that, and hopefully your educational program will make other residents aware of that. I did hear your explanation at the advisory committee about the grant that you had proposed, that you filed the last day there that you were talking about. Just it was a real rush to get it done, but you got it accomplished. And what you're looking across the street, I'm enthusiastic about that. Really looking forward to it. The other question I have is relating to the large item pickups. Now, my immediate question is, how is that being handled, since the 109 board is a county-wide function and most of your fees, as I understand, are collected from waste haulers throughout Jefferson County metro government. But those large item pickups are just being handled within the urban services district. Now, one question is, do you have another graphic? Your first graphic showed that you've got reductions of complaints, trash, different places, illegal dumping in different places. Do you have a graphic that also shows the areas that are, and I'm trying to remember exactly where your graphic was displayed, but it wasn't showing me, I couldn't see, okay, this is area A that you're seeing this increase or decrease. And do you have a graphic that shows that? And as you're looking at this project, since it is a countywide funding, your board is countywide, and is only being done within the Urban Services District, and I'm listening quite attentively to the Legislative Research Commission's study of Metro. How are you allocating resources so that you're not using countywide funds to provide a Metro Urban Services District service?
Well, first and foremost, you know, I don't want to speak out of turn for the way Metro spends its money, and I understand that that's a bit of a topic. What I do understand is that bulky waste collection has always been provided within the Urban Services District based upon a higher tax rate. And
Yes.
the large item by appointment is a Metro government program, not a waste management district program. Although the waste management district has supported it because it also meets the same goals that the board has, which is reducing illegal dumping, reducing litter countywide. So without putting myself into a bad spot, I think that all of the costs associated with the large item appointment system are the same funds that have been used for the pickup that's taken place over the last 30 or so years, and entirely paid for through the Urban Services District increased tax rate.
Okay.
Brandon might be able to share. Can you give any insight into that, being that you were where you were positioned? I think that I'm right, but I don't want to say something that's not right. Let's just put it that way.
Say that one more time, Pete.
How is the funds for the large item pickup done throughout the Urban Services? It's paid for from the increased tax rate within the Urban Services District. Is that correct?
Talking about the large pickup by appointment?
Yes.
I think we determined, okay, for the record here, folks, I have not been on the city council for 2 years, and I think we passed this in 2019. My recollection is that we determined that the program would be cheaper and actually save money just from the regular budget for the old scheduled junk pickup program, and that there was no extra funding that it would be a cost savings by implementing the new program. Doesn't that ring a bell to you, Pete?
Yeah, we anticipate that it would be a less expensive to provide services that way. I think Jerry's question is, where does the original funding come from? Is it something that should be provided out to the suburban areas?
My question is basically, if it is being paid for strictly out of the tax money coming into the Urban Services District, fantastic. That's the way it's supposed to be done, my understanding. If there is countywide money, as the budget for the Waste Service District Board, the 109 Board, is from funds from throughout the county, then if that's any money going into it, then that opens up, why isn't it being provided to areas outside the Urban Services District?
Well, I can address that. Is this board has never appropriated any money to do specific pickups inside the Urban Service District.
Okay,
That is correct.
I guess when
Now-
I'm hearing it talked about, I'm hearing what we're doing type thing, and that's why I was presuming the board is running this in some way. If it's strictly the Urban Services District is doing it, funding it, that's the way I understand it should be done.
Well,
I just think that Pete is giving us a report. This is an important part of how waste is picked up in the area that we're interested in. And so he's just reporting to us about how the Urban Service District is doing this. Pete also works for the Urban Service District, so he says we, but when he says we're doing this, he's actually talking about Metro government hat that he's wearing. And it's not the 109 board that's doing it or supervising it in any way. It's just a report to us so that we know what's going on.
That sounds fantastic. Yes. That's all that I have, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Then I guess at 6:57, we stand adjourned. Thank
Wow.
you all very much. Pete,
Thank you.
staff,
Okay.
board members, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Hi, guys.
Bye, Pete. Thank you. Karen, thanks.
Thank you, Natalie Johnson. She's already gone.